Hey, this is Glenn from Cobalt Cult 6547. I'm going to show you how to make a silicone mold out of this master mold. I've measured 75 grams of part A of our silicone maker, and now I'm going to add another 75 grams of part B, so I've got 150 grams here total. I'm going to mix this together for about 30 seconds. Once I've got just one color instead of separate gray and yellow, I'll know that I'm done with the mixing process. Once I've mixed it, everything's gonna go really fast. So I'm gonna divide this into 3 50-gram balls, and I'll use my scale to measure those out. And then once I've got those, I'll roll each ball, split it in half, make a snake, and then I'll cram the snake down into this master mold. And I'll tell you a few tricks about how to do that well as I go. So I've got this guy. I'm basically just gonna tear it into 3 equal-ish sections. So I got 50 and then 100. Now I've got one snake here. I'm gonna split that in half. I'm gonna roll this. This whole process has to take like less than a minute or the silicone starts to harden up. As I'm pressing this down in, especially way in the front, I've got these pegs, and the silicone has to get under and around those pegs. So I really work hard in this first area to mash it in well. I'll revisit it in a second. Now I've got the second sixth of my silicone. I'm gonna put that under this section and just mash it in. And the idea is to try to minimize the seams that are in there. I'm continuing around the edge now, again, getting under this little lip. So I really wanna make sure that is high quality. That's where the user of the face shield frame will attach their transparent plastic. Now I'm onto the second 50-gram section. Not doing quite as good a job back in here because this section doesn't matter quite as much. This section in the back takes a lot of silicone because there's a lot of volume down in there to fill in the mold. Once I've got a lot of, let's see, that's all that's left of my sixth. Then I'll start up into here, and I'm gonna come back for the next one. So now I am working on this thin section here, mashing it in, making a little bit of mess on my counter. I wanna make sure I get it in really well all around. Now I'm on to the last third of my stuff. And at this point, I'm not gonna continue because I wanna do this section first. I want this really high quality while the silicone is still easy to work with. So again, I'm really pushing hard with my fingers, making sure I'm getting this way down in around these pegs because those are like mission critical parts of the system. Now I'm back and grabbing the last section of my silicone. It's starting to harden up just a little bit. I'm gonna go through this loop down here, mash it in, and now I've got a little bit of a void through here and I've got a lot of a void up top. That's gonna be okay because by measuring 75 grams of silicone, I know I've got plenty for my overall operation. So I've gotta really make sure I fill that in. So next I'm coming back with this butter knife. I'm using it just to mash this stuff in all the way along here. And my goal is just to fill all of those voids. Now that I've done that, I can use my knife to cut this silicone off. I'm using the 2 sides of the 3D printed mold master as a guide so that I can get off the excess silicone, and then I'm gonna move it over to here. So I pressed it down in there really well, and now I'm moving it back to here. I'm gonna do that same operation with the butter knife up top. Kind of mash along. Really want to make sure it's all down in there. Once it's completely filled, and I know I've got a little extra silicone I can pull out, I can feel at this point that it's starting to harden. So I want to make sure that I take advantage of the flexibility I've got left. This section right here, I like to do a little bit of a sawing motion because it's pretty thin from here down to there's plastic right below that silicone. So I want to make sure that that plastic doesn't get exposed. If it does, I can just take a piece of this silicone, mash it, put it on there, and make a little patch. It sticks really well to itself, and it sticks well to itself when it's loose and easy to work with right now, but it also works well as a patch later. So if for some reason a mold gets torn or there's a problem with it or anything like that, you can kind of go back and just get a little bit of your extra out of your containers, mix it up, and off you go. I've got this arm, again, it's starting to harden up, so I'm gonna use a little bit of a sawing motion, more so than I needed to on the other side, and I'll go along, clean this up, and just get a nice, straight bottom on the mold. And why that's important is because when we use the resin to make the face shields later, we want this to be really, really level. So if there's a high spot here, it's gonna throw everything off. So now I flip this over, and I mash it down onto my really flat counter. And the idea here is that I'm enabling the mold to be level later on. Just gonna flip it back over, clean up a little bit of that. It looks good. I'm gonna wait about a half hour, then this will be done. I'll use my knife in here. I'll go all the way around to loosen it from the plastic, and then I'll get in here and I'll just pry it loose. It'll come out, and then the whole thing will just pull out of the mold, and it'll be ready to make as many resin face shields as you want. And this is about how much trash you should have. Good luck.